Igor Thiago has 18 Premier League goals this season. Harry Wilson has 9 goals and 6 assists at 28 years old. Two players almost nobody was talking about at the start of the season. And here is the question nobody really wants to ask out loud. Are they genuinely good, or are they just hot right now? Because the Premier League has a long, uncomfortable history of players who looked exactly like this. Michu scored 18 league goals for Swansea in 2012. Jesse Lingard had 9 goals in 16 games for West Ham 4 years ago. Both looked transformed, both looked elite, neither ever came close to that level again. So the real question is not who is good, it is how you tell the difference between a player finding their level and one living on borrowed time. If you love football content that actually digs deep into these type of questions, you might want to subscribe. This is what we do here. Every single Premier League season, someone comes from nowhere and ends up among the top scorers. Sometimes they turn out to be real, sometimes the league figures them out, and that is the last anyone hears of them. The unsettling part is that both groups look identical from the outside in October. Same goals, same standing ovations, same trending clips. Get this wrong and clubs spend 100 million on a hot player and get a warm one. So let's start with the blueprint because Michu is almost too perfect an example. July 2012, Swansea signed a Spanish forward from Rayo Vallecano for £2 million. He scores a brace on debut, 6 goals in his first 8 games, 18 for the season. He won the League Cup, earned a Spain call-up, and the media coined a unit of currency, one Michu equal to roughly £2 million. He was genuinely excellent, smart movement, precise timing, technically clean. Then Wilfried Bony arrived the following season and Michu scored twice all year. A loan to Napoli, 6 appearances, a chronic ankle injury, retirement at 31. But here is the part people miss. Michu was not a fraud. He just had one perfect alignment of system, fitness and opponent unfamiliarity. And when that window closed, there was no second one. Jesse Lingard is a slightly different version of the same story. Fading at Manchester United, he went to West Ham on loan in January 2021 and scored twice on debut against Aston Villa. Against Wolves in April, he carried the ball 52 meters before firing past Rui Patricio, the furthest any player had travelled before scoring in that entire Premier League season. 9 goals and 5 assists in 16 games, Player of the Month, England recall, provisional Euro squad. The whole country was asking, where had this been hiding? Back at United the following season, scattered appearances, no impact. Then Nottingham Forest, 0 league goals in 17 appearances. Then South Korea. Then Brazil. A man whose peak arrived in a 5-month window at a club he never actually signed for. If you'd watched that West Ham spell in isolation, you would have paid 30 million without blinking. Which brings us to right now and 2 players making the Premier League look easy. Does this feel familiar yet? Thiago worked in construction as a teenager in Brazil, lost his father at 13, came to football through futsal and a brother already in the game. He landed at Ludogorets, then Club Brugge, where he scored 18 goals in 12 games in late 2020, a run so extreme it barely seemed real. Brentford paid 30 million. He tore his meniscus in pre-season, suffered a post-surgery infection, and played 8 league games in his entire first year. This season, 18 goals from 29 appearances, a hat-trick at Everton, a brace against Sunderland that made him the highest-scoring Brazilian in a single Premier League season. Chelsea, Bayern Munich, and Manchester City have reportedly been watching. But here is the number that changes the conversation. His non-penalty XG for the season is around 11.5. He has scored 18. He is beating his expected goals by roughly 50%. That is extraordinary finishing, or it is a number with nowhere to go but down. Harry Wilson is the other side of this coin. 28 years old, a decade as a professional, 9 goals and 6 assists this season, the best combined output of his career by a wide margin. His XG around 4.9. His actual goals, 9. He is nearly doubling his expected output. Wilson is a technically precise player. Free kicks, placement, finishing craft, so some overperformance makes sense. but nearly doubling your XG at 28 in a career that had shown nothing like this before? The data is asking a pointed question. Do you think Wilson is genuinely a different player now, or is this the season every footballer gets exactly once? Because the thing that makes a purple patch so convincing is that the player is doing everything right. The goals feel earned, and that is precisely what makes them dangerous to evaluate. Which brings us back to Michu lifting the League Cup in 2013. 22 goals, an international call-up, the best season of his life. From the outside, it looked like a beginning. It was almost the end. So what actually separates the ones who sustain it from the ones who don't? The answer is not XG. XG tells you if you're outperforming your chances. It does not tell you why. There are two completely different reasons a player beats their expected goals. The first is genuine elite finishing, Haaland converting chances year after year that lesser strikers miss. The second is a temporary peak, perfect system, unprepared defenders, and a player operating at the absolute ceiling of their ability. Lingard at West Ham was almost certainly the second. But Thiago has previous that Brugge run was not a blip, it was the evidence that convinced Brentford to spend 30 million. And the way he moves in the box, shifting his weight before goalkeepers have registered the shot, that is craft, not fortune. Is Thiago genuinely elite, or is Brentford's system the one doing the heavy lifting? Because the system question is where nearly every one of these evaluations goes wrong. Michu arrived at a Swansea side engineered for half-space entries and penalty box arrivals under Michael Laudrup. The goals were almost a byproduct of the machine. When the machine changed, everything changed. Lingard at West Ham had David Moyes building patterns around his exact strengths, late arrivals, tight angles, sudden movement. At United, he was a squad player in someone else's system. The lesson from both, the player and the system, are inseparable during a purple patch. You cannot honestly evaluate one without the other. Wilson at Fulham has Marco Silva, a manager with a consistent track record of maximizing technical, wide players. Take Wilson out of that setup and you are not necessarily taking the goals with him. And here is perhaps the most honest thing you can say about all four of these players. Michu was good. Lingard was genuinely transformed at West Ham. Thiago has real quality. Wilson is having the season of his career. None of those things are contradictions, and none of them guarantee what comes next. A purple patch is not the opposite of talent. It is talent meeting perfect conditions, and the question is always whether those conditions travel. If Thiago moves to a big club and becomes a squad striker behind Haaland, you are not watching the same player. If Wilson plays under a different manager in a different system, those 9 goals do not automatically follow him through the door. Because the Premier League is very good at figuring people out, and when it does, you either have the depth to adapt, or you become a great story that ends earlier than anyone expected. If that kind of thinking about the game is your thing, subscribing is probably worth it. We go this deep across all kinds of football topics. If you're a football fan who enjoys content that gets into the nitty-gritty across all kinds of topics, subscribing is a no-brainer. Will Igor Thiago still be scoring at this rate in 3 seasons' time, or is this his Michu season?